Right.
And just that perspective shift could change their life. We don't necessarily have to reach down
100%.
and grab people out of situations. But we can talk to them
100%.
and say, hey, you're doing this way right now. Try doing it this way instead.
Yeah.
Before we get started with this episode, we have a major favor to ask you.
If you could subscribe, like, and comment, especially with somebody that you'd love to see on the show, we would really appreciate that, and it would be amazing.
This helps us more than you know. In fact, once we hit 1,000 subscribers, and that is our goal, we are going to choose 2 of you to come to our very first Shoreline Show meetup with our team and our past guest.
And if you want more of the Shoreline Show, you can get on us on all the major audio podcast platforms.
Now, let's get on to the next episode. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Shoreline Show. We are so excited today because we have a special guest. His name is Todd Westmus. Welcome,
I
Todd.
don't know if I would use special.
I would say that
I
you
would.
are a very special guy.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
yeah. And Todd runs an amazing company, Westmus Electric.
No.
No, my brother's running Westmus Electric.
Yes.
I'm running Westmus Automation Technologies.
Oh, okay. So I didn't know that distinction
Yep,
was in there. So
we
you're going to have
created
to.
that 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you're during that whole transition, and I'm sure you'll
Yep.
explain a little bit about how that works.
Yeah.
So I knew Westmus was in the name. I just
Yes.
didn't
There's a
know
few
that
entities
distinction.
there now.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Well, good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about like how you grew up, Todd. Like, tell us about your childhood.
I had a good childhood. Unfortunately, my parents got divorced.
I guess I didn't recognize that.
Yeah, that was tough. It happened when I was around 6 years old. My mom and dad got divorced, and that was tough, I think, on both my brother and I. Fortunately, we were blessed with a very loving and strong stepmother.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
A couple years later, and not to overshadow my mother,
Right.
they both did a wonderful job
Together.
and always made sure that we were taken care of, and I had a really good childhood.
That's cool when you see. I think that's one thing that a lot of people are lacking is when you have a divorce situation, that the stepmom doesn't treat the kids like the same. It sounds like she really treated you guys well.
And I had 2 stepsisters as well, so
Right.
there could have been
Yeah, there could
that
have been a lot of
divisive
tension.
dynamic there, and there really wasn't. You know,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
I think we, as a family, were able to treat each other with respect. And you know, my sister and I, my younger sister, she's only 3 months younger than me.
Right.
We graduated high school together. We all the way through. So
Yeah.
So you guys probably got pretty close.
we did. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool. Do they live in this area? Do they live in Michigan?
The only sibling that doesn't is my older sister, and she lives in Florida.
Oh, okay.
So
She got sick of the winters, huh?
yes, yeah. So it's strange. Like during 3 months of the year, roughly, it goes in numerical order. Like this year, it'll be 50, 49, 48, 47.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So that's how close we all are in age.
That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
So
That's cool. Did your dad own his electrical company back then?
yes,
Did he? Okay.
yes.
Now, did your dad start it, or did
No, my grandfather did.
So this is your
his dad.
third generation.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
awesome.
Yeah, my grandpa started it. Gosh, I knew what year. It was like 1954 or something.
Wow. That's
something
great.
like that. It's
That's
been
wild.
a long time.
I guess I didn't realize that either.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So potentially you could still be owning it when that company is 100 years old.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might have been in the 60s. I don't.
Or somebody in your family.
Yeah, somebody in our family.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the desire, I would think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep
it
on the
going.
Westmouth
Yeah.
Main.
So
I mean, that's only like
30, 40
less
years.
than, yeah, that's not that many years away where it could be in a 100-year-old
Right.
company. That's
And
amazing.
I'm young enough to still live that
Absolutely.
much longer. So.
Absolutely.
Did you know your grandpa then?
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's cool.
I learned a lot of electrical from him.
That's what I was trying to get at. Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you learn a lot of like who you were from working in your family business, or what did that look like? Because you went off for a while. You got out of it.
Yeah, 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took a roundabout way to get where I'm at.
Yeah.
And each aspect of my journey has really played into who I am now.
Yeah.
That's a definite, because I've taken some drastic steps in my life and done some drastic things.
But the thing is, I love people that do that. I love when people don't live in a box. They try some things. I think some people are so afraid of failure that they don't try anything and they live in a box. You could have just did it one way, worked for your grandpa, worked for your dad, stayed inside this box, did everything like this perfect way. But
that's not who I am though.
That's not who I am either. Yeah,
You know,
no, that's great.
It's interesting because,
But that's good. Yeah.
when you really think about it, the sum of my experience has gotten me to where I am.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You know, and I'm still learning, still taking, risks and
Yeah.
diving into things that I don't know what the outcome's going to be.
But you know who you are. Every time I talk to you,
Yeah, I think so.
feel like I talked to you, I think it was a few months ago, maybe even less than a month ago, when we said something along the lines as I was like, yeah, we're going to go to Vegas for this thing. And I asked you to come.
Yeah.
And you were like, I am the boss when I show up. Like, you know who you are. And I think you're kind of joking.
Yeah, of
But at the
course.
same time, I think there's some truth in that. You know who you are. You know, it doesn't mean that you have it figured out. That's not what you're saying.
No.
But you know who you are, and you know that when you show up, you bring it.
I know the path that I would like to go down.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean it's always a straight path to get there.
Never
but,
is.
I like to think that I know roughly where I'm going and how I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's, to me, I love the not knowing part.
It can be stressful.
Yeah, for sure.
Look at my hair.
I swear you had dark hair last week. Just kidding.
Right. It can be stressful at times, but I think dealing or having done the things in my life that I've done and working through adversity and coming out on the other side of it, knowing that I'm still okay.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
I think that gets lost a lot.
Yeah.
When you're deep into adversity and you're unsure of the outcome, just know you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because what's the worst that's going to happen?
Right. I mean, you've been through so much that eventually you get to the point where me and my wife always talk about that is like, I want to develop who I am so much that I could live in the middle of nowhere. And at the same time, I can be, if I develop my skills and let's say I fail, I take a huge risk at something and I develop my skills where I'm an entrepreneur, I know how to do business, I know how to develop websites, I know how to start businesses, I know how to deal with people, I know how to care about people, and I develop all those skills. You could lose everything, but you can go into any city anywhere and be okay.
Potentially, yeah. But let me ask you this. Is developing skills or yourself more important?
Yourself.
Right.
100%.
Because if you
That's
don't,
what I meant,
if you don't
yeah.
have the
That's good.
confidence in this, a lot of people take confidence, they look at it poorly because
Right.
they think you're arrogant or you're cocky. and it can come across that way. I'm very bad at this.
Yeah.
But being confident is different than being arrogant. And cocky.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you're confident, you actually know what you're talking about and you can display it and stand on your own 2 feet.
Yeah.
Cockiness is totally different than
Totally different.
But I think getting to that point comes through, and I'd like to go back to your childhood, but I think it comes through trials and
Sure.
things,
Yep.
right? Like you going through some things where you're like, oh, crap, like I'm in this situation. How am I going to deal with this?
Yeah,
And that
so-
pressure,
In childhood, I dealt with it by just doing sports.
right? Yeah,
You know.
that's huge.
Little league when I was in elementary school, and then I got into football and
Yeah.
then track and field and excelled at both of those.
Right.
I'd say excelled, but I did
Yeah.
okay.
But sometimes things don't turn out the way you want it, even if you put in all the work. But how you handle it in sport, especially,
Yep.
because the coaches make the
Yeah,
decision.
you learn a lot of lessons from
Definitely.
being a knucklehead.
Yeah.
That's for sure. You know,
I've always
people-
told my kids, especially if you, I'm always trying to put my kids in positions at a young age. They both umped. And I think that's a great opportunity too, because in sports, I was like, had my kids, and I'm like, you should do some umping, because it's, first of all, it's good money for a young kid.
Sure. Yep.
But second of all, having a parent yell at you for a call that you make and out in the
Oh,
stands.
that's great, isn't it?
Or yeah, it is actually great for your kids, for real. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I love it. Like, because it's like it teaches them like, hey, everybody's not going to agree with you,
Right.
But you got to stand your grounds. You got
How
to
do
be
you,
confident in the call that
what's
you
your
make.
conflict resolution, right?
Right.
You know, there's something to be said for a young man or a young lady that can assert some conflict resolution and actually carry through with somebody that's more perceivably dominant than them.
Right.
That's hard to do.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I always say you have to have some humbleness, but you have to have some. You have to have confidence in what you do, but at the same time, you can bring it with a humbleness to it too.
Sure. Yeah.
Right, where
That balance is hard to find too.
it is hard because especially if you're living a certain and you're doing the things that you're doing. You definitely have to have confidence in it, but at the same time knowing the situation to bring humble. But so going back to your situation, you go through high school. Was your childhood pretty good overall?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Lived in a good house. Dad was building his business.
how
you
was
know.
it having a dad in business? Was that like, was he gone a lot, or was he around, or what did that look like? Because I think sometimes running a business at the beginning, it had to have been pretty tough.
Once we got to high school, we're doing our things, you know, they're doing their things, and we could always count on Dad was going to leave the house at 6 o'clock in the morning, and typically he was home at 6 o'clock at night.
Okay.
We'd have dinner together. He'd go fall asleep on the couch, you know,
Yeah.
just like I
Relax.
do now, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the one thing that I will say about my dad is he is extraordinarily dependable.
Yeah.
You know what to expect, and he delivers on it. So that's the role model. You know, the bar was set there
Yeah.
with my dad
Yeah.
when I was growing up.
That's pretty
So,
cool.
Yeah,
And that probably affects everything that you do today.
it's definitely a barometer
Yeah.
for sure. I have my own thoughts and ways of doing things,
Yeah.
but he doesn't stifle that either.
Right.
So
That's cool.
you know.
So is your dad still like in your business now, or like what does that look like?
Yeah, he's still part of it.
Is it?
Yeah, he's still owner of it, and
Yeah.
he helped me get this division of Westmas going.
Yeah.
I had the idea. He said, "Do it."
And believed in you. I'd like to get
Yeah.
into that a little bit, but I'd like to
Yeah.
first hit. What
Yeah.
did you do when you got out of high school?
I tried college.
Did you?
Yeah.
What were you going for?
Criminal justice.
Really?
Really?
Yep. I wanted to be a cop.
Okay.
So
Wow.
that didn't work out. I
Yeah.
did not like college.
You're not.
Yeah.
You weren't the school guy, or what?
No.
Neither
No,
was I. So.
my focus was not there.
So how long
I went for
before you recognized
A
that?
semester.
Oh,
Yeah.
Just
Doesn't take long
I
to-
just knew it,
Yep.
and I knew that I was wasting money. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
I give you a lot of credit for recognizing that in a semester. Some people will go through their whole degree
Yeah.
and not even use it or do anything with it because they realize it doesn't even fit what they're trying to do or what they want to do.
I didn't even know what I wanted to do.
Right.
Right.
To
I
be
think a lot of
perfectly
kids are
honest
like
with you,
that.
you know, you're 19 years old and
Yeah.
the school thing's not working out for me.
So what'd you do after that?
I went to work for my dad.
Okay.
So I did that for 2 years
Yep.
after that semester, and I got an itch, and no amount of scratching could get rid of it. So the thought in my head was, you know, Todd, you're probably going to be an electrician your whole life.
Right.
Go do something cool.
I respect that. I love that. That's good.
So I did.
What'd you do?
I joined the Marine Corps.
Oh,
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
that's pretty cool. And that's pretty, I mean, you joined the Marine Corps 2 years after what a normal,
Yeah,
like,
I was.
like somebody might do that coming right out of high
Right.
school, but you were,
I was 20 and a half.
okay.
Yeah.
So was that challenging?
Yes.
Okay.
The entirety of it is challenging.
Well, I'm sure it is, but
I-
just that 2
so in-
years difference,
That gave me a.
was that an advantage
It
or a
wouldn't think
disadvantage?
it would matter.
it was an advantage.
Oh,
Really?
it was.
Yes.
Okay.
Maturity.
See, I wouldn't think
Maturity
it would.
level.
Yep. It
Okay.
gave me a little bit of a maturity edge over the 17 and 18-year-olds
Yep.
that were made up the majority of my
Yeah.
boot camp platoon. There was 93 of us in my
Wow.
platoon,
Dang.
and I was, I think, maybe the oldest.
How did they see you? Did they notice a
they
difference?
being the recruits or they being the drill instructors? There's
Both.
a big difference.
Yeah.
both.
Right.
Okay, so drill instructors, they recognized it quite quickly that I was a little older and more mature, and they put me in a leadership position within the training platoon. So they made me a squad leader, is what it's called. That forced everybody else
To fall in line.
to recognize that position of authority.
Yeah.
So,
Was there some, like, was there instant respect there, or was there animosity?
there's no time for animosity in Marine Corps boot camp.
Okay.
I can
Absolutely
Yeah.
none.
Okay.
They
They'll break it
they
quick.
break it immediately because it's all about following orders to the T instantaneously.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Yes, they should be coming from somebody higher than you. Well, I held that position with the rest of the platoon. So they couldn't question it.
Right.
Right.
So
What's the biggest thing you learned in the Marine Corps? I'm sure there's a lot, but like, what is, like, if you were to walk away, because I can tell, being a friend of yours, just like when I hang out with you, I can tell it developed who you are
it
in a
had
lot
a
of
big role
ways.
in it, yeah.
Big time.
Oh, geez. The biggest. That's a tough question, Rennie.
Yeah, it is.
Wow. Because you have to understand that's 4 solid years of living, breathing, eating,
100%.
all of it, right?
Because
I-
it mentally a little bit, you got to admit, mentally, being in the military, you feel it mentally, because their goal is to mess you up a little bit,
Their goal is to mold you into what they want.
what they want.
Yeah.
So you're going through this, and you're like, okay, I mean, it had to develop some inner things in you, right? Like these things and
Yeah, well, one of
beliefs.
one of the things we have to remember is I'm 23 years out of it now too.
yeah,
Right? So some of those things that I thought at the time were negative, I now see
As
were
positive.
positive. I think one of the hardest lessons that I had to learn in the Marine Corps was respect. And knowing a person's value for who they are
right.
and what they can bring to a team. That's, I think, the biggest lesson I learned. Evaluating what a person can bring to a team
Right, and they all
and
have,
respecting that.
yeah. I I went to a military school, that, and it's nowhere near on that level, but I had friends that went to, the Marine Corps from there, and then they also went to the Navy and the Army. It's ran, I think, the school I went, the boot camp that I went to is ran by the Army National Guard.
Yeah.
And it's essentially a recruiting station over
Yeah.
time. They come there and they see these young kids, 15, 16-year-olds going through this military school, and it's a feeding ground for recruiters, right?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
that's what it is. And they have a lot of recruiters will go and work there, and they're the staff sergeants and stuff
Right.
like that. But I will absolutely say without a doubt that developed me just that little bit
Sure.
a lot.
Yeah.
It was a significant impact, but especially the first 2 weeks, they beat the crap out of you to where, literally at times, like it was brutal to the point where they're breaking down every aspect, no matter what you do. They're breaking you down so then they can turn around and reinforce what they're doing later. And it actually, but as miserable as it was, looking back on it, it was the most worst thing ever. But I look back on it and I would do it again in a heartbeat.
I agree. I looked back once I got out after my 4 years was done. I looked back and thought about the entirety of it and how
Right.
absurd it was.
Right.
And everybody says, Marine Corps boot camp is the most difficult there is. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do in your life. I don't think those people were in the infantry in the Marine Corps, because Marine Corps boot camp honestly was the easiest part of my 4 years.
I can
It
imagine.
really, really was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine that. For your sake, I think you see things once you get in infantry, it's a different game. I think
It is.
everybody at this point. I think boot camp is developing you to be into a job.
Well, so the purpose of Marine Corps boot camp,
Right.
that's the only basis I know, right? That's
Right.
my base of knowledge, is to develop a basic Marine.
Right.
Okay, so it's 13 weeks long. They break you down mentally, physically, and then build you back up. And at the end of the 13 weeks, you earn the title of Marine.
Mm-hmm.
That's why everybody says once a Marine, always a Marine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still a Marine. I will
Always
never
will be.
not be a Marine because I earned that title.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, in our community, that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Marines,
Yeah.
mostly.
Yeah.
So,
So then you went into infantry.
yep, so then,
What was that like? Did you go anywhere?
yeah,
You did.
yeah,
How was that?
great.
What countries did you go to?
Went to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
That was great. And then we took some boat rides and went different places. And
So one of the things I will say that's different about you that I see a lot is, and this is going to get deep here,
Okay.
but I see a lot of military people, and the military, it does mess them up.
yeah,
You were able to harness that and look at positive within it. I'm granted you probably had some situations in your life where
absolutely.
there's no doubt about that, but I'm trying to help people here, especially if there's a Marine watching this and saying, okay, how
Look,
did you
All right.
go there?
The VA has wonderful counselors,
That's cool.
and I use them.
That's awesome. So don't have an ego if you're a Marine. You went
look,
through it.
Go.
Go.
There's situations that you'll find yourself in that your mind alone can't figure out. And
Yeah.
you have to have help. And I'm a huge proponent for that.
Yeah. Professional help.
Yes,
Yeah.
alcohol took a hold of my life for many years.
Right.
And I've been sober for 4 years now.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
having professional people talk me through some of the things, it makes a huge difference.
Right. And I think the thing that also is I think you're willing to, if you trust somebody, you're willing to work through it too.
Yeah.
I've always found that about you is, we've talked about a lot. I've talked to you about a lot of things. You've talked to me about a lot of things. You've always been a person that is always said, okay, I think you probably learned that in the military. I don't know why it changes when these guys get like out, but when it's like,
Because
okay,
dealing with pain and uncertainty and addictions, it's the hardest thing to do when you go from a regimented lifestyle to nothing.
right.
Yeah.
And that's really what it's like when you get out.
Did
You go from having your entire day told to you what you're going to be doing,
Every minute
High
of every
intensity.
day.
many high intensity,
And then no plan.
nothing.
and at that matter, what you do matters there.
Yes.
Because it's literally life or death, and then you come here and you're like, I mean, I'm not saying you did, but flip a cheeseburger.
Yeah, it doesn't
And you're
matter.
like, oh, well,
Doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
So you got to process that, but
So
it
then
really does matter.
Then,
but yeah,
then in your mind, you're thinking, well, I'm not worth
What is my
anything.
purpose?
I have no purpose. I'm not worth anything here. I'll just take these pills and drink this beer and,
Yeah.
you know.
when you were there, were
'Cause who cares?
opioids big in Japan? Because I know that was big on World War II, as it was huge, I believe. Wasn't it?
The biggest thing that I ran into was drinking
Yeah.
Drinking.
alcohol.
while in the service
Masking the
every
pain?
single day. Oh, yeah, because you hurt constantly.
Yeah, I can
Constant
imagine.
pain. Your knees hurt, your back hurts, everything hurts.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah.
and that carried over once I got out because the pain doesn't go away because there's permanent damage.
you beat the crap out of yourself. Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
It is what it is.
I think it's cool. I commend you so much for how much you've actually have gotten through it, you know, and where you've taken that.
You know, it's a long journey.
I've
And-
seen you did change in you even since I've known
It's been a long, long journey. Like I said, I've been out of the Marine Corps for 23 years now.
you. Right.
And, you know, not just the physical pain. I had some other situations I was going through that I was masking the mental
Yeah.
pain, right? And
Life beats you up.
yeah, you just get help.
Yeah. What was that mental pain? Do you want to share?
In the interest of protecting my
Yeah.
family, I think
get that.
I think we'll leave that
Yeah.
alone.
No, that's good.
get that.
You know, I had a familial dispute.
Mm-hmm.
The people that mattered most, two of the people that mattered most in that are adults now, and they have their own life. And
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
think-
No,
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, you're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but I seen you work through that process, and
Boy, I
Again-
wasn't working very good.
but the thing is, life. The thing is, life for every single person is gonna beat them up.
Yeah,
We
Yeah.
can't forget that. You're not. It's not
Yeah.
unique when it comes to everybody has things in their life that life kicks the crap out of them,
absolutely.
and people have choices to make. And for, let's say, for a while, like you said, you turned to alcohol and things like
Yeah.
that, but something clicked in your brain at some point. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it was, but you were like, okay, I have a choice to get worse or better every single day. And something, so for a while, you were like, worse.
My wife.
She did, yeah.
Your
My wife
wife's
kicked
often.
my butt.
She's awesome.
Yeah. Drew some hard lines for you or what?
She did, yeah.
That's amazing.
She drew very hard line
That's cool.
and said, "Don't cross it."
And you're like,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah. Yeah, you're like, I care about you. And
I do. I love my wife.
yeah, I know you do. Yeah.
You know, she's a very, very special person.
Yeah. I had that with Erin in my life at one point in time. I used to get mad at her because I was into drinking and I lived a rough life, you know that. And I remember her getting mad at me at times for things, and we'd fight, right? Just get not fist fight, but we'd argue, just like
Oh, yeah.
hardcore argues. And then I remember laying my head down at night and thinking this exact thought is, I think it was had a God thing, put it on my heart, and he was like, how do you get mad at the only person that is caring about you right now?
Yep.
Because the reason they're getting mad at you is because they genuinely care.
Yeah, and I think at that time, you know, she really had put up with it for quite a while. And it was just to a point where I can remember not remembering what we fought about.
Just so wasted.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yep. And it was pretty much a daily thing.
Right.
So it got to a point where she's like, hey, buddy, enough's enough. You got to stop. So.
Do you have any interest, like, so here you're in, you've learned all this, and do you have interest in, like, working through some of this with other people? I would think you'd have a heart for that.
I do have a heart for it.
Marines, I'm talking about.
Yeah. I am wholly unqualified to do that.
Yeah.
The only qualification I have is just having been through it.
The experience.
I'm not, having dealt with counselors and psychiatrists and psychologists and all this stuff that the VA has, I'm an idiot when it comes to that stuff.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely, any chance I get, provide support.
Right.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the most basic but most important thing that I think as veterans we can do for each other is just support each other. That's it.
Do you find that, so I found this when I was young, but I also have buddies that are in the Marine Corps. The same situation that they're running into is the foundation is the Marine Corps, but the togetherness is the drinking part of it. Like you get around, and I know one of my buddies goes to a memorial every single year, and it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And they don't know who does it, but somebody believes 2/5 of what, I don't know what it is, some kind of liquor at the memorial. Nobody knows who does it, and all of the Marines gather around this memorial.
Take a shot.
And they take a shot, and they do a thing. It's like it's
Yeah.
a bit in.
The Marine Corps is steeped in tradition.
Right.
And you're right. A lot of the Marine Corps was founded in a tavern
Right.
in 1775.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah.
It was founded in a tavern. Ton Tavern is the name of it.
Huh.
And that is our history. And it's not, it's not shunned upon
Right.
to drink in the Marine Corps.
Right.
It sets a precedence, though, for difficulties later
It does.
on.
It works probably while you're in there
Yeah.
because it
Builds camaraderie.
Right.
It really does.
Well, I find that even when you get into the real world, I think
Yeah, in business, going to business meetings and
Oh, yeah.
lunches and stuff like that. It's
100%. I think I always say, and I've had friendships where those friendships were. I always question what the foundation of the friendship is, and say, okay, if we're friends, what is the foundation of it? And I see a lot of friendships. The foundation is drinking,
yes,
because it'll be like, okay, and then you can test it. But don't drink with those people for one time, or tell them we're not drinking, and see how that attitude is at that foundation. And I think a lot of friend groups out there, and I might be rubbing some people wrong, maybe I'm not, but a lot of friend groups is test this on your friend group. And if you just say, hey, let's not drink this time, they end up being, they don't have energy. They're very,
right.
It's not, they don't even know how to have fun.
Right.
They don't know how to do anything.
Well, it was interesting. I was a very good drinker for a long time, and all of my friendships, for the most part, were based upon and around getting together and drinking.
Right.
Right. Well, what happens when you stop drinking?
Right.
You lose friends. Guaranteed.
See you
Yeah.
later. I can't be around you, especially in the beginning. Now it's not so. Now it's easy,
Yeah.
Right.
but in the beginning, I could not be around even the smell of it.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is bringing that back full circle, though, is you mentioned earlier, is and this is the very beginning, you mentioned what's the most important thing, and that's to develop yourself, and you recognize that, and you're like, okay, I know I have these friendships, but if I develop myself first, and that's what matters the most.
Right.
My relationship with myself, my God, whatever your thing is, my business. If I develop myself, then and people leave because of that, they're not meant to be around me in the first place.
Correct.
Because
and part of, I think, addictions and drinking and alcoholism is you tend to alienate people, especially at the level with which I was doing it. You say terrible things, you do terrible things, you really, it's relationship breaking stuff.
definitely.
And so, trying to make amends for some of those things is difficult to do. And the people that truly want to be in your life will be there.
Definitely.
So that I think you got to take that with a grain of salt. If somebody really cares about you and loves you, and love may seem like a weird word between two guys, right? Or a married woman and a married man, but there's that situation where I care about you guys.
Right.
Right.
So getting through some of these hard times and coming back to people that, I remember we had a conversation one time,
Yeah.
maybe I'll reach out to Rennie and see what he's up to and just open arms,
Right.
So that's what's the most important thing, to get through and get on the other side of this stuff.
Yeah.
But you're expanding who you are in that too,
Yes,
right?
You're growing.
Yeah.
You're definitely growing. I think that's one of the things I notice with people. I hear a lot of people, weed's becoming a real popular thing right now too.
Yeah,
So you have
big
drinking,
time.
and now you have weed, and any drug for that matter. I see it with parents with drinking, and again, weed. I think they both are going to that. Is where I had a stressful day at work. This is what they say. So it's okay that I do this because I do it in moderation.
Right.
Yeah.
When you feel like you need anything whatsoever, and this is my beliefs, I feel like when you feel like, okay, I had a hard time, let's just say the worst thing in the world happened. You're in the military, and you're overseas, and you're in Japan, and the worst thing that has happened. You had to kill somebody, or whatever it may be.
All your limbs got blown off.
Right, whatever
Right.
it may be. I get the aspect where you're like, okay, I need something. But to develop yourself, the best thing you can do is stretch yourself by saying, I'm going to continue. Anytime you have to mask that feelings that you have to cover that. So it's a stressful day at work. My limbs got blown. Whatever that thing is that you have to mask, you're never going to catch up with it because it's just masking it. It's going to come back.
Right. And the sooner you stand in front of the man, be it pain, self-loathing,
Right.
depression, anxiety, stand in front of that man, just like you did in front of your drill instructors or whoever.
Right.
Yeah.
Go back to your core values.
Right.
You can get through it.
Right.
And you're absolutely right. We live in a society these days where people are masking reality
Yeah.
at an all-time
High.
rate. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Because these things are becoming normal.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't go down the street
Yeah.
without smelling weed now,
correct.
right? Like seriously, and
well,
I'm
they
not
sell them in these pens.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't even. They don't even make a smell anymore.
right.
Right.
And I'm not picking on people because I like if that's it's I'm not I don't want to pick on it, but I think if you feel like in any level that you need those things, you probably should be getting therapy.
Well, here's another point. Okay.
Yeah.
What's it legal in a few states now?
I have no idea.
Michigan,
I would assume-
Colorado.
Just a few
A
states.
few.
It's only a few. Okay.
Well, here's the thing. It's still federally illegal.
Right.
Marijuana is.
Right.
So you have all these kids. They're going to college and we live in Michigan and they're smoking up all the time. and they go to try to get a job, right?
Right.
What's the first thing most employers do?
Pull a criminal background
Drug
check.
test.
Drug test.
Right.
They're following federal guidelines for hiring.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. You've got a 4.0.
Oh,
but
you're saying if they have federal contracts that they can't even hire those people whatsoever.
large manufacturing,
Yeah.
federal contracts, you're out.
Yeah.
You know, we live in a area in West Michigan where there's massive manufacturing.
Big time.
You cannot get a job at any of those
You
places.
probably run into it with your
Absolutely.
company
Yeah.
because here you
I'm working for those companies.
You're working for those federal companies, getting federal contracts. You can't hire people.
Correct.
Yeah. So if somebody was in the military and you feel bad for them because of what they went through. They smoke weed. Now they have this. They do something dumb. Now they have this legal thing that hanging over them. You can't even hire them, can you?
I can, and I'm a firm believer in second chances.
So am I, absolutely.
But being able to pass a drug test
Yes.
is critical in
Yeah.
in the environment.
Will they let you hire them? Like if you go into let's say you go into a government contracted
it's
job,
my business. I can hire whoever I want.
but will they let those people work on those jobs? I would assume no.
Depends on.
Is there like a thing in their place for that?
Yeah, it's not so much that. Okay, yeah, they don't want felons working on their stuff, right?
Right.
Misdemeanors and stuff like that. Just don't ask, don't tell, right?
Right.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I would have no problem. I'm going to be honest with you. I would have no problem owning a company with a bunch of felons. As long as
I
they
don't
change
either.
their life.
Yeah, I don't either. I have a couple of good friends that are felons.
Right.
And they really changed their life around. You know one of them.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't, to me, I think the question would be, but I just didn't know if there was actually law in place that says,
It's all
hey,
contractual law. It's
Yeah.
not federal
No.
Okay.
law per se.
No.
Yeah.
It's all contractual.
right.
You know, what is this customer going to allow?
Yeah.
You know.
I think that's one of the biggest. Things that I think is an issue is these manufacturers, if they don't hire people out of prison. That let's say even prison. Felonies and these things. That's a whole nother subject. I don't think
Yeah.
prisons are doing their job well. I think we're imprisoning people and they're not coming out. I don't think the issue is that they committed a crime more than it is that if they get the help that they need, and these are functioning members in society and they're good people now, I don't care what you did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Sure.
I really, the goal is to change
There's such a
lives and change
stigma,
people.
though.
Well, yeah, you know how
Still,
hard it is.
there's such a stigma out there yet that,
Right.
I have a
that
friend.
it's hard to overcome that.
I have a
time.
friend that spent 23 years in prison for just being accessory to a crime.
Right?
I have a friend that was 30 years in
Yeah.
prison for an accountability law in Illinois.
Yeah.
Her husband murdered somebody and she was present and she got the same
thing.
Funny
Same-
stories. I'm actually
Yep.
meeting a guy today. Right after we leave here at 5:00, I'm going to prison to meet a guy, and he has triple homicide because he was just in the wrong place at the
Yeah.
wrong time.
Yeah.
So, and people might not like hearing this, but he is a great person. Through and through, he is a good person.
People get caught up in situations, and that's you got to pick who you're with.
Right.
You know,
Definitely.
that's
Well, and
Yeah, for sure.
that's one thing to teach. How do you teach your kids that?
Right.
How important is it for the friends that you have, because you can be
Buyout.
in the wrong place at the
Right.
wrong
That's what this kid,
time.
19 years old.
Yeah.
My friend, same thing. She's in the wrong place at the wrong time, married to the wrong man that went off
Yeah.
and murdered somebody.
well, you can't control what other people
Right.
do.
You can't.
But here's what we can do for
Right.
our kids: we can expose them to my friend like Robert,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And say, hey, bud, teach my kids a lesson here. How
Right.
did you get in that situation?
Right.
Well, he was sitting in a car. The guy went up to go buy some drugs. Mm-hmm. Guy comes back, says, let's go. Little did he know, he killed the drug dealer when he was up there.
Oh, God.
Right. It's crazy.
Right?
It's terrible.
Done. His life is done.
23 years.
Like that.
Then he gets out, has nowhere to go.
Yep.
Met him through church.
But don't you think a little bit that's messed up? Like, so our prison system and I believe in consequences. I think there should
Absolutely.
be consequences. I'm a firm believer of like making, because if we lived in a world without consequences, but here we are locking people up for sometimes 30, 40 life sentences. This guy I know, life sentence, he was 19. He's almost 60 years old now. And he's been in prison since he's been 19. Mm-hmm. Just I hate saying a triple murder, like he was involved in this, but he is a good person. But
Well, he turned his life around, right?
He has, 100%. He was just in the wrong place, wrong time. And we're prisoning these people, and necessarily are they meant to be really in there? I think there's psychos out there. Trust me, it's a mental thing. There's a lot of mental issue people that, okay, they need some help. They need to be in there.
Let's not go down that road.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mental going on.
100%. But how many people, if you were to really take the full prison system in the United States, and you were to sit there and you were to make the decision, you personally, and line them up, I bet you would let out 80% of the people in prison.
Yeah. Well, because, you have to have a heart.
Right.
You have to be compassionate towards people.
Right.
And you have to look at people's situations,
Big time.
right?
Every situation matters.
Every situation matters. But here's the one thing you're not bringing into any of this discussion.
I like it. Do it.
The prison system is a money-making
100%.
situation. It is a business,
Right.
okay?
Don't even get
I
me
love this. Let's go there,
started.
boys
The,
and girls.
the
Let's
prison
do it.
system is a
100%.
money-making business.
Absolutely.
So the longer-term sentences, the more money the prison makes. The
Yeah.
more people that are in their facilities,
Yeah.
the more money the prison makes.
100%.
And it's all federally or state funded.
Yep.
There are some private prisons, privately owned ones. Well, they're not doing it out
They're
of the
not
goodness
doing
of
it
their
out of
heart.
the goodness of their heart. They're making money off from it.
Right.
Right.
So that's the one missing piece from your statement. They want to lock these people up
Forever because they
Forever.
make money.
because they make money.
It makes so much sense for them to do it, but at the same time, I mean, I look at the system and say, okay, 2 points I want to make. One is I just recently read a book, and that book talked about how they handled it, and I thought it was pretty slick. Is kind of goes into the story, but this guy ends up cutting this guy with a knife and all that, and this fight breaks out. But he was going to go to prison for life. But instead, in one state, I forget where it was, they did this thing where they put the victims around the table. So the victim and his attorney, and then maybe even some family members. And then over here, they put the perpetrator over here, and they both told each other's story of what their day looked like that day. Mm-hmm. And they're like, "This is how I seen it. This is what happened." He goes, I heard you did this and this and that." And if they all came to an agreement, then the state wouldn't step in. They actually ended up becoming best friends with each other. To this day, they're still friends
That's interesting.
because justice was actually served by having a conversation with each other.
Well, yeah, there's a difference in perspective, right?
Right.
Perspective plays a huge part in our lives every single day. Your perspective might be totally different than mine. And
100%.
we may look at the same situation, but it's through a different lens and different set of experiences in our past. And like you said, what happened today?
Right.
So having a place in your heart to be understanding for other people,
Right.
it comes with maturity, because it's taken me a long time to get there.
Right.
But I think I'm starting to get to that place where I have a little bit of empathy and a little softening a little bit to understand what somebody else is going through. That's
Mm-hmm.
a hard. It takes a long time unless God gives you that gift
100%. Yeah.
to learn that. So
I think that takes time. I think it takes going through crap
Yeah.
yourself, and you realize, wait, I'm not such a perfect person myself.
yeah,
And I could have been in situations that guy has been.
right,
But somehow, by the grace of God, I'm sitting here today free and he's not.
correct,
That's crazy.
correct.
And it's just by circumstances and certain things. And because I live in a certain, it's interesting to me. And the second point I wanted to make is, how many people do we know truly that get out of prison that are rehabilitated in anything? I think it's very, very rare.
That's a good question.
So it's truly, we're doing it right now
Well-
just for justice sake.
There's two types of people though that go to prison: people that deserve to be there, and people who don't.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
That get caught up in things like
Right.
your friend and my friend.
Right.
Right.
I-
What does the person that really was okay? I was there. I didn't do it. What's
Well-
being rehabilitated?
Right.
Nothing. You're making them worse.
Well, so if they don't deserve to be there and they finally do get out, then society makes it so hard for them to
they can't
even
get a
succeed.
job.
They can't get a job. So my friend that spent 30 years in jail, in prison,
Yeah.
she created her own company
Yeah.
because she couldn't go get a job. Nobody
Right.
would hire her. Who's going to hire a felon that is in prison for 30 years for murder?
Right.
Right.
You know?
Same exact situation with my friend. He hasn't started his own business. He's doing construction and stuff like that. but
Right, right.
Barely making it.
Right, exactly.
I think the world is gaining in a little bit there. A little bit.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I
With
think
labor
there's
the
such
way
a
it is, like a demand
stigma,
for
yeah.
labor?
No.
I think there's still such a stigma.
If you go to
Yeah.
prison for murder or like second degree murder, just being an accessory to it,
Yeah,
you're not getting a job.
no.
Yeah, that's sad. Yeah, so we're imprisoning people. I mean, there's people that the laws have changed and it's legal now. Even like the
Mm-hmm.
weed situation, there's people still in prison
Yeah.
for weed
And that's
charges.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's still
That's-
people-
That's what's crazy to me right now. They've made marijuana legal, but there's people in prison that were in prison before they made it legal for possession
Right.
of marijuana.
Right.
100%.
And they're still in prison, but yet now it's legal. Like, what? That does not make any sense to me.
I think we should force people. To me, I agree. I think the biggest thing we can do for people is getting them out of environments. So, like in my case, in my story I told in one of the earlier episodes, is what happened to me is I was living a rough life.
Mm-hmm.
So then I get kicked out of every school. And then, so same thing, prison, live a rough life. My circumstances just suck. So picture the person, your buddy. My circumstances suck. The people that I'm living around or whatever maybe suck. So then I commit a crime. So then you put me in prison with more people that are committing
That
crimes.
suck.
That suck.
Yeah.
And then you expect me to get out and be a functional member of society. Instead, it's like, is there a way to figure out, and this whole podcast, we don't need to necessarily be about this, but it is a great topic, is like, how do you get these people to change their atmospheres? Like,
There are some programs out there. For example, one or two of the guys that were in my platoon in the Marine Corps were given an ultimatum by a judge. You either join the Marine Corps and leave as soon as possible,
which is great.
or you go to prison.
I love that idea.
That should always be the choice.
And I'll tell you what, those guys are some of the most productive,
Mm-hmm.
most upstanding citizens that are in this country right now.
I 100% believe that. I think some of these guys, if you give them the opportunities,
chance.
Give them a chance, and you don't have to make it easy.
No.
You can make it hard, but give them the opportunity, and they will take it and embrace it. Because this fact is, I don't think anybody sitting in prison right now is like, I just loved my life before, and I wish I would have done that.
Right?
Like, I say that about people that do crazy things in life and like ruin their families because of alcoholism or adultery or cheating, right? Like they cheat on. I don't think anybody's like, I want to rip apart my whole family today, and I want to like be the most dysfunctional person in society that I possibly can be. Nobody says that. Very rare.
Well-
Maybe there's some, but it's like 0.5%
You
or
know,
something.
you're looking for a solution to a very complex and diverse problem. I think we can all start within ourselves, right? Like you said, there are people that we know that are in circumstances that are untenable and unbearable to them,
Right.
but they maybe have a perspective that could be shifted.
Right.
And just that perspective shift could change their life. We don't necessarily have to reach down
100%.
and grab people out of situations, but we can talk to them
100%.
and say, hey, you're doing this way right now. Try doing it this way instead.
Yeah. And it's
And sometimes that's all it takes is just a kind word and a little bit of encouragement, and it can change people's lives.
my buddy, our mutual friend Kyle. He's crazy. But at the same time, he does that to me all the time.
Yeah.
He will change my perspective on something, and I'll be like, dude, it's almost like when you get punched in the face, you're like, what? And he'll do that all like with words. He'll punch me in the face with something, and I'll be like, I've never looked at it that way.
Everybody looks at things, the same things. We could look at that blue bottle there, and you're going to say it's purple,
100%.
Right.
right?
Yeah. And then there's certain people that have a gift in that, and you know Kyle, he does. He has a gift of being able to tell you, and I'm not saying Kyle, and that's the beautiful part. I'm not saying he's like all like perfect or anything like
Nobody
that.
is.
But he has a way to bring that together, and it's just it's interesting, and I do love that. I always make this analogy and I think this is the world we're in right now, is if I punch you in the face right now, right?
We're going to have problems.
I know. I'd be afraid. Trust me, I would. But if I
I think
did,
Todd could take you down.
I know he could.
Well, I'm fat, so
But if I did, and it made you a better person today, a better husband, better father, better everything, you would hate me. Well, maybe not, but let's just say you did. But would it be worth it
for you or for me?
for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. And you were the one that got punched, and we're afraid to
But-
get punched in the nose.
But it's a perspective thing,
Right?
right? I'm not going to like it right away
No.
Yeah.
until all of those things that improved that you were talking about show themselves.
So do you think that's why divorce rates and friendships aren't as tight as they used to be? Because
Nobody can take a punch in the nose.
nobody can
anymore.
take a punch in the nose anymore.
Hard truths are hard for a reason,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Nobody wants to hear them. However, they need to be said sometimes. Just like
100%.
my wife telling me.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's why
Shape up.
friendships like we have are great.
Yeah.
Because
I can tell you, you can tell me,
100%.
doesn't matter.
No. And I think you have to
Because I know where it's coming from.
Right.
If
I
it's
mean,
coming
Shelley
out of
had that
love.
as well.
If it's
Yeah.
coming out of love,
Yep.
hit me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
care.
Yeah. No, for sure.
You know, I need people like Rennie.
Right.
And I think
Yeah.
same way for you.
Yep.
Right.
You need people
Definitely.
like me.
Definitely.
Because if we don't have some sort of mutual accountability to each other,
Yep.
we're just kind of wandering through the desert with no
100%.
with no direction.
No.
Yeah.
You know, I can set a path for myself all I want. And Rennie knows about my path and where I want to go.
All right.
If he sees me wandering, hey,
He's gonna hold you accountable.
Right.
we're kind of like each other's compass.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can do that for more than one person
Yeah.
Definitely.
very easily.
Yeah.
It's just taking a few minutes.
Right.
So
Like, we don't get together all that
No.
often, but when we do,
it's powerful.
it's just like this.
Yeah. It's 100% just identical to this. Yeah.
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 Whatever we talk about, we talk about.
Do you feel like learning any of this stuff? Like, so a lot of that here, like going back to like you've learned all this stuff. Do you feel like how does that impact your business today? Like, so what do you do? Tell people what you do. First of all,
I run a business that we build automated machinery
right?
and dabble in some other defense stuff.
Okay.
So,
So, like robotics type of thing.
robotics, automated production cells. So, West Michigan is a huge manufacturing place. So, we started here over by Detroit, and we're down in Texas and Maine and
Right.
all over the place now. So we what we typically do is we work for similar companies as mine, but much larger. And they're looking for highly skilled, highly technical people to come alongside them to say, tear down this line that they built and move it across the country, reset it back up.
Right.
Okay. We do that. We build the equipment as well.
I can imagine when you're doing that, a lot of these people are like, okay, we were doing it I need you to tear down it, but I need you to upgrade it to a lot of automated.
Yes.
Is that what's happening? I can imagine.
Typically what we'll do is a line replacement then.
Okay.
So they'll continue running their production with the equipment that they have. And then we're building a
new
new
line.
upgraded line. We'll get that running.
Simultaneous.
Tear this one down, take this one apart, move it, put it in its place,
That's cool.
get them going.
Do you feel like the skills that you've learned throughout life is forming a new type of company? I feel like you're very, like, you've learned a lot in life, and do you feel like the way
I
old
think I have a different take on it. I don't know if it's a new type of company.
how it's ran more I'm talking about.
The difference between how I do it and how it was done in the past is I want to be your partner. I want to work with you to achieve your goal.
Right.
It doesn't have to be my goal.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to help you get to where you want to be. Before, it was all competitive.
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody worked together. Nobody do things together.
Yeah.
That's what my whole business is based upon, is helping you out.
And I think that's the same also with your employees.
Yeah.
I
I try to.
It sounds like you do. When I talk to you, it sounds very much like you're building a company.
Is that a different mentality in your arena?
Yeah. Yeah.
It seems like it would be.
Yep.
Just my limited knowledge of what
So
you do.
The biggest difference is I'm not trying to be your competitor.
Right.
Yeah.
The automation and integrators industry and realm
Yeah.
is such a competitive
Right.
realm.
Oh, I can build it better than you can.
For
Type of thing.
cheaper and faster and
better
all this other
yeah.
stuff. When you start doing that, you find yourself in a bind.
Yeah.
It's where I come in with my guys because we're very skilled, very professional.
You're here to serve. Yeah.
And we know how to do this stuff. So when they run into situations where, hey, they don't have enough skilled people to pull this off,
Right.
we can step right in seamlessly, work with them, and
Right.
get it done.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
More of a collaboration thing
Yes.
than a.
You know, we can help with engineering a little bit and fabrication. We can do
Right.
pretty much everything, or we know people who do everything.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we can put a specialized team together to solve any situation.
Yeah.
So if there was a young guy, like, or girl, that wanted to get in this field today with what you know and what you're doing, right? And you know how it was in the past and you know how it is now, is there any advice that you would give that person that was like, I want to start my own electrical company? Because I believe more than ever you're going to see new people coming, new businesses switch hands, new people coming into the game that have ideas. Is there like this ticket item that you're like, yeah, this is what I would advise you on before you tread into these waters?
Know what you're doing. If you're going to be an electrician, get your journeymans, get your masters. Don't just fake it. Go through it, learn it, know it front to back. Know what you're doing. Well, Steve's an electrician
Yeah.
as well.
Right.
So it's not a trade where you can fake it. People
No.
can die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Very easily.
People can, yeah.
That, and then
Yeah.
once, it takes a minimum of 6 years to become a master electrician, and
Right.
you can't
Yeah.
legally have a company unless you're a master.
Right.
In those 6 years, you see how things are done. I wouldn't say that, a 24-year-old, yeah, they can succeed, but you're not going to be competing against a company like Westmus that's been around for 60 years,
Yeah.
right? They can do the homes and the stuff like that, and we'll let my brother handle the multi-million-dollar contracts.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
because he has the experience and the bonding abilities, and it takes a long time to get built
Right.
up to that level.
Yeah.
Unless you have some serious financial backing.
Yeah.
Right.
But as a young person, it's hard to get that.
Yeah.
We all know that.
And
Yeah.
so your advice would be extremely skilled in your trade and
Be
learn it
skilled
very
in your
detailed.
trade, know it, so that you're not struggling with that as well as struggling with starting a business.
Right.
Because starting a business is not for the weak at heart.
No.
I will tell you that. So if you don't know what you're doing with the skill that or the trade that you're trying to sell, and you're trying to start a business, good luck.
Yeah.
Or partner somebody that knows how to do the business side, and
Yeah.
you just know your trade.
Partnerships are a big thing.
Sounds like that would be huge.
That's how I'm getting into some of the more complex
Right.
defense stuff.
Because if you can have somebody that's like, I got a lifetime of skill here, and you got a
Well,
lifetime of skill here, now you can.
Here's little Todd, and here's the companies that I'm working for. You know, they're doing 17 to 20 billion dollars in sales a year.
Right.
Here's Todd,
Right.
right?
Right.
We do a mentor protege
Yeah.
situation, right? And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
just
That's
they
pretty
help
cool.
guide me through all the quagmire of government stuff, you know,
Yeah.
Right.
and it works great.
Right.
So,
So what's the future of that look like for you? Where do you see your company? Like, what's your future look like with, Wesma's Automation? Am I saying that right? Wesma's Automation
technology.
Technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just, like little babies right now.
Yeah.
So,
But bigger than a lot of people.
yeah, well, I'd like to see, obviously, like any other person in business, sales growth,
Right.
of course, because a healthy business is growing. I want to continue taking care of employees, making sure that they and their families can have a stable and good life.
Right.
Because if you're not paying your employees enough to where they have a stable family life,
That's huge.
you got problems at work, right? Because, all right, if I'm not paying these people enough, maybe they have to go get a second job, and then they're always tired the next day.
I think you're hitting something right now that I think the world needs to hear is a lot of these old school electrical companies and companies, and
No, it's
that's
not just electrical.
not just electrical companies, I should say. I think we're running into an issue where we're not paying people even enough to survive.
Yep.
And then
Well, and our economy has changed drastically over the last few years.
right.
You know, it's difficult because you look at the bottom line.
Big time. Yeah.
It's very difficult. I love giving raises, but if I can't charge more,
Right.
it's difficult to do that.
Right.
And I think the perception that a lot of people have is, oh, you guys are business owners and you're just raking in money
That's
hand
never
over
the
fist,
case.
and that's really not the case.
No.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
I think the answer is we have to be able to get somehow either the cost of living for people or down or the wages to increase.
well, I think another aspect of that is people should understand the value of hard work
Oh, big time.
and
We're losing that.
don't live outside of their means.
Right.
Okay.
100%. But at the same time, I know people that don't live outside their means at all. And I think, and I'm dealing with I have a lot of people that I know that I mentor, and they're between 24 and 30, 22 and 30. And they work hard. And I feel like they make good money. But you start to look at with the way inflation is right now, just basic necessities, they barely can survive.
Yeah. It's really difficult.
It is.
I
Yeah.
notice it.
Like
Yeah.
you can pay somebody now $20, $22, $23 an hour, and that seems back in the day that was great money.
Now
I mean-
it's low.
Now it's like, oh, I
Stop
can't even
it.
I can't even pay a
mean-
mortgage
I-
right now. People can't with
Yeah,
that in the car.
That's in that it's tough, because that's right around where we start people now.
Right.
Right.
So I'm trying to stay up on that, but I also have an apprenticeship where you're going through 4 years of school. You're going, working with licensed electricians and licensed machine builders.
Right.
So their pay scale is structured. Look, you're going to start here and you're going to end here after 4 years.
Right.
So
I think the answer for somebody like you is that you're finding these kids that are maybe still living with mom and dad or something like that, and you're like, hey, I can get you to where you can have a career in this.
absolutely.
This is a thing. But you might not be able to have a mortgage. You might not have these things now, but we do have a plan for you.
Yeah.
And that plan is, but you better be good. You better be a worker. But if you're a worker and you're good, you can make great money in what we do. And I'll show you the path. And here is the path. Look, it's right here.
Well, it's interesting. Talking about pay scales and all this stuff. My second oldest son, he's 22 now. 23? 22.
Okay.
He just graduated college with a computer engineering degree.
Right.
And I was just looking around, what can this dude make?
Right.
It's unbelievable. Starting out at 80, 90,000 a year.
Right.
That's an enormous amount of money compared to when I was his age.
100%.
Right.
I mean, I left out of manufacturing, and when I left manufacturing, I thought I was killing it. And I think I made less than $17 an hour. And by the time you take out taxes, insurance, and we were putting some into retirement and all that when we were doing that,
10.
it was take home $10 an hour.
Yeah.
When I took it actually home, it was $10 an hour. So if I worked 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day, which we work in 10, 12, but let's just say that's, $100 a day, right? That's what
If
you took
that.
home. Yeah, if you were lucky. But now you're looking at your average house payment, and I don't want to say that because it's different everywhere, but
Yeah.
it's at 7% interest. I think your average house payment for these people entry level, is $3,000,
3?
somewhere around there.
I'm never selling my house.
No, you're at 7. When you're at 7-8% interest rate, who knows what that looks like? And the average home sale now around here, I don't know what it is. It's over 3.
It's over
over
3,
three.
right?
So you're looking at 350 or whatever it is.
Depending on what they put down.
I think depending on what you put down, you're looking at least what, 2,700,
Yeah.
2,800, and so it's like, oh, right there. That's a lot. Right, so it's like something has to happen because the average person right now can't afford a home.
Yeah, but
The
what's going to
average.
happen?
I don't know.
It's a big question.
What's going to happen?
I think I believe we're in the largest distribution of wealth ever in America right now. I think you're going to see money change hands from people. I think you're going to see certain huge mega companies crush. The new players are coming into the game. I think they're going to learn how to pay people well. I think they're going to know how to manage people well. They're going to start communities. I am pretty confident I'm right on that.
I think we learned a huge lesson as a country during COVID.
Big time.
More so coming out of COVID. We found out who's hard workers, who's
Big time.
not, who's crybabies, who's going to wipe their tears and get after it.
That's good. You're
Right?
hammering it. Yep.
Like, what makes you think you can just sit in your bedroom and work? That's not an environment to propel our country into the future.
100%. I like to believe, when did we lose the aspect of, you go back when we were the start of America, everybody had to be a functioning member of society somehow.
Well, what's your definition of a functioning member of society?
Well, I had a buddy actually once tell me, which is interesting about this. I said this during COVID. I go, we can't continue to pay people. I made a comment. I said, we can't continue to pay people to sit around, play video games, and eat Cheetos. And he laughed, and he added a perspective that I thought was interesting. He goes, why? They're doing their part. I go, what do you mean? He goes, think about it. He goes, these people, they're never going to attain a ton in life.
Right.
He goes, they're not harming anybody. And I was like, I think this is crazy. I don't agree with this at all. But he goes, but they're eating Cheetos, right? They're buying video games, right?
Right.
He goes,
They're being subsidized to be consumers.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the world will go.
Subsidized consumer. That's a great.
Subsidized consumer. I think that's where we're at right now. But I think there's a large group of people, not large, a small group of people that are watching this. And I think you have some people that are watching this and saying, I see a lot of opportunity. Because a lot of these people, these kids, there's a lot of kids out there right now that are watching this and they're like, wait a minute. I see that this person owns a company. It could be anything. And they make really good money. They were able to really accumulate some wealth doing what they did. And they don't have anybody to give these companies to because their kids are eating Cheetos and playing video games, and they're happy there. And then there's a young kid that grew up maybe a little bit harder. He's seeing this and saying, I can do that. I can do that.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, and maybe I'll even do it a little bit differently.
Right.
And that's where I feel like my heart is with young people right now, is I'm encouraging them to go into business right now, because I don't think there's a lack of. I think there needs to be more people that are like entrepreneurs young in their 20s to say, I can do things and I'm going to go after it.
And nothing against social media. I do have things against it, but nothing against the people that are making money doing that. Not social media entrepreneurs. Right? You know,
other things.
There's other things
other
out there.
Other industries. Yeah.
I think the focus right now is on fast, easy money. Because that's all you ever see on these social media platforms. That's why I stay off them.
I watch a guy right now, though, and I think it's amazing what he does. Is he drives around, he's a landscaping company, and he finds the junkiest house he can possibly find. Typically, it's an older person. It's an older person, and what he does is he will be like, okay, he'll knock on the door, and he streams the whole thing live.
I've seen it.
And I'm like, it's the coolest thing. He'll take these ugly properties and make them beautiful. But he streams it, and this dude will get, I don't know, like I don't really know, maybe a million million likes on this house, and he doesn't have to charge anything. He's doing a public service. He's working, but yet on the other hand, he's turning around and he doesn't have to charge. He's capitalizing
on the
probably
views.
More like 20-fold than what he ever do to charge that person to do that landscaping. Which is, I think that's where social media is cool if you use it for the greater good. In those ways, like electrical, hey, you know, you can go to you could do that there. Like, hey, we're changing the world, and I think that's where companies need to start embracing some of this technology when it comes to that.
But that's not my place.
Yeah,
it's just not. You know,
which is okay.
Could somebody do that for me? Yeah, absolutely.
100%. Yeah.
But that's just I'm not that generation, and I choose not to be.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of pitfalls that people fall into in social media, and it can be a very, very dangerous place.
Big time. But you can find the right people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You can find the right people that have care and that can say, hey, I can help you out, Todd. You can make things work.
Sure.
And that's kind of what we do, right? Yeah. And that's kind of like our attitude towards it, But
so, Todd, if there was somebody that wanted to get in touch with you, whether they wanted to get in to your line of work, or if it was some company that could use your services, how would they get in touch with you?
I think the best way would be through email. It's just toddw@westmaas.com, WESTMAAS.com. And then I also have a LinkedIn page for Westmaas Automation Technology, and then my own personal on there. It's not very up to date, but it's on there. You can contact me through that. I'm currently in the middle of redevelopment of a website, so that's not available. So
awesome.
Once we get that
LinkedIn is
up,
good.
Yeah,
and that will be on LinkedIn once you get that up.
Once we get it up and going,
awesome.
That'll be a link on LinkedIn.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
Perfect.
Yep.
Cool.
Well, the next part of what we do here is our message in a bottle.
Oh boy.
And you've probably seen it on the other episodes. So our last guest wrote a message for you. So you can grab the bottle and see what that message is.
Who do I have to hunt down if I don't like this?
I believe you probably could do that. Sometimes we have challenges with that. We might need to figure that out.
Come on out of there.
There we go.
There it goes. Is it long?
This is a two-part question.
Oh, nice.
What is your ultimate purpose? My ultimate purpose is to
Great
be a disciple of Christ and a good steward on this planet. Why do we exist? Well, I'm a firm believer that we are made in the image of our God, and He created us to exist on this earth for His purpose. That's why we exist.
That's good.
At the most rudimentary, basic level, that's why we exist. Because God wants us to exist, so we do.
And
That's
I think you could do that.
it's as simple as that.
Yeah, that's good.
There could be a number of reasons why God wants us to exist, but when you really boil it down, that's why.
I love it. It's a good answer.
That's
Awesome.
why.
Awesome.
It's interesting. And we tell everyone when we originally started this, we were collecting them and putting them in a bottle back there because we were going to eventually hang them in here. But it's actually amazing how many people actually have kept those. They're like, "Oh, I really want to keep this." Like, I think that's pretty cool.
Well, you know, as I'm unrolling this, it's like, why do we exist?
Actually, it's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that probably will get you to think
Yeah.
for a little while.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But I know we're on limited time here, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
when you really think about it, if you believe in Christ and you believe in God and read the Bible, we're here for His purpose,
Right.
not ours.
Yeah.
So,
And to serve others, right?
and to serve others, obviously, you know.
Right.
But yeah, I think whatever is put in my heart by God is what my purpose needs to be.
Right.
So,
Discerning that every day.
yeah, you have to try to figure it out because it's not always clear.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
It's not always clear.
No.
And sometimes we're not perfect. Most of the time we're not.
Most
No.
of the time, we're not
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. So
I don't know. I mean, you guys can say that, but just like,
okay, Remy.
no, definitely that's the case. Nobody's
Yeah,
perfect.
those are good questions. The ones that, you know, could really take some time to think about.
Yeah. I think that person really wanted to punch somebody in the mouth and really get them thinking about life.
Yeah, yeah.
And they did a great job with that.
I
Yeah.
picked a good person to punch.
I love it.
I can come up with the answer quick.
Right.
But
Awesome.
no, I really believe that. That's and I think whether you believe in Christ or not, that there's a good message there for everybody.
100%. I think every single person can ask themselves that question.
Yep.
Why do
Absolutely.
you exist? Like, what is the purpose?
Yep.
I think it's a great question that most people should be asking
And my
themselves.
answer doesn't have to be everybody's.
It doesn't. No, absolutely. I definitely agree.